Welcome back. If you saw last week's video, then you'll know that in that video we started work on making one of these. If you didn't see last week's video, well, I mean seriously, what the f***? So what exactly is one of these and why are we bothering to make one? Well, that is a fantastic question and I am so glad that you asked. This is a cutoff tool holder and we're making one to replace one of these. This is the cutoff tool holder that comes with most aloris style quick change tool posts. And these are relatively awful. Cutoff operations are one of those things that a lot of people seem to struggle with. And in my opinion anyway, a lot of that struggle is completely unnecessary and is actually caused by these awful tool holders. And in my experience at least, switching to a more rigid and robust tool holder eliminates most of those struggles and makes cutoff operations just as easy as any other operation that you would do on the lathe. Last week we worked on the main body of the tool holder and we got it up to this point here. There's still some work that needs to be done to this, but I actually want to sit this to the side for now and I want to work on the top clamp piece. That is this piece here that actually clamps the parting blade in place. I want to work on this piece and get it to basically the same stage of completion that the main body is at so that I can come back and drill all of these holes in both the top clamp and the main body sort of at the same time, or at least back to back. We're going to be using a piece of 1018 cold roll to make this part, so let's head over to the mill and get started. This 1/2" end mill holder is basically the only tool holding option that I have for the vertical head on this machine. So I'll be doing pretty much all the machining with this 1/2" end mill. Anyway, first things first, I need to get the stock squared up. The first thing that I'm going to do is take an initial pass on all of these exposed surfaces above the vice jaws, which is going to bring them all in square with each other. Now I can flip the part over and bring in the opposing face. I'm going to go ahead and take a measurement here and bring in the first major dimension of the part while I'm here squaring up this face. I'm removing one of my parallels to allow the part to sit flat while I square up the next face. Now I just clean up this last remaining face and then bring in all of the rest of the major dimensions. There's the part all roughed out to its major dimensions. You can see how it's all going to fit together, so this will sit right in that little ledge there. Next, I need to cut in the little dovetail feature that's going to clamp down on the parting blade to help hold it in place. There's going to be a matching dovetail on this little ledge down here, so I guess I might as well knock both of those out now, and then we can move on, start drilling holes and taking this thing to the finish line. To position the dovetail cutter, I'm just going to touch off on the top of the part and then raise the table the width of that ledge. And that's it for that. Now I can do the same thing for the matching feature on the main body. Now, I don't want to get ahead of myself and jump to conclusions or anything, but I think this thing is starting to look like a tool post. Sure, it's pretty self-explanatory how it works. Your cutoff blade sits right down in that little dovetail on the bottom there. And if you'll notice, there's this little cutback in the top here. That is there specifically to allow T-shaped cutoff blades to sit nice and flat against the side of the tool holder. So you see it provides just enough relief for that T at the top of the blade. And then of course your top clamp just drops right on top and squeezes everything nice and firm in place. Next up, we've got a bunch of holes that we need to add. As you can see, I have 4 holes marked out that are going to go along this ridge right here. These 2 outside holes are for the cap screws that are going to hold the clamp in place. And the 2 inside holes are actually a design change from the original tool post. These are going to be for guide pins. The original tool post actually has 4 tapped holes for cap screws, but after using it, I realized that I only ever used these 2 outside holes to tighten down the clamp, and these 2 inside holes just always stay empty. However, I haven't fully decided whether we're actually going to add those or not, and the only reason I added them was to help prevent this little tilt that happens when you tighten the clamp down. But like I said, the original one doesn't have them. It's never been any kind of issue. I'm not trying to solve a problem. I don't know. We'll see when we get there. This last hole is, of course, for the height adjustment screw that goes right in the middle there. So yeah, that's it. Let's head to the milling machine and get started. One thing I do want to mention is that this machine has absolutely no kind of quill whatsoever for drilling, which means I'm going to be doing all of my drilling with the knee, which I guess isn't really the end of the world, but it does have me nervous just because I'm not going to have that feel that you get with a quill. I don't know. I guess I'm just having visions of breaking drill bits. I'm going to use my edge finder here to locate this top left corner of the part as my designated origin in X and Y. Once I have that located, I can locate all of my other features using that origin. To keep track of all of my different drill locations, I'm going to be using subdatums in the DRO. Subdatums are a really great way to keep track of individual different features in the DRO when you need to go back to those features multiple times for multiple operations. So, for example, a bunch of holes that you need to spot, drill, and tap, you can store as subdatums, and you can get back to those holes anytime you want without losing your overall global location. You're probably noticing a couple of extra spot marks in the wrong location. For some reason, I had the wrong dimension in my head for these holes and started off using that wrong dimension until I eventually caught myself. We're just not going to mention that. And now I just have to tap these holes, 1/4 20 for the cap screws and 3/8 24 for the height adjustment post. This tap follower that I made a few videos back is pretty flippin' sweet. This thing's really working out. I'm really liking it. If you haven't seen that video yet and you don't have a tap follower, you should definitely check it out. The free plans are available on my Patreon, and tap followers are the butter on the biscuit. Because I use the vise stop, I can now put in the top clamp piece and use the same subdatums that I found for the body to drill all of the matching holes in the top clamp. So all of those X values are still good, and I just need to find my new Y coordinates for these matching holes. I also decided not to drill for the guide pins. I thought about it and realized that they were really not necessary and were just as likely to cause binding issues as they were to fix a problem that didn't really exist. And with that, all of our pieces are machined, so let's assemble this thing. And that's it. Nothing to it, really. Of course, your blade slides right in like this. Tighten down your cap screws. And this thing is locked together. And you do not have to put a lot of torque on these cap screws, and this thing is just rock solid. It's not going anywhere. I know that this is a simple design. It isn't going to win any engineering awards or anything like that, but this is a rock solid, super rigid cutoff tool holder, and it is significantly nicer to use than one of these aloris style tool holders. And I guess that about wraps it up for this one. If you're interested in making one of these for yourself, the plans for this project will be available on my Patreon by the time this video is published. As usual, if you have made it this far into the video, thank you so very much. I do truly appreciate each and every single person who watches, especially when you watch this far into the video. It lets the algorithm know that you enjoyed it, which means that it will be shared with more people. So thank you very much. Of course, an extra special thank you to my patrons, the people who find value in what I do. I don't know why you do it, but I do truly appreciate it from the very bottom of my heart, so thank you so very much. If you are already a subscriber, thank you for that as well. If you haven't subscribed, but you like what I do here and you feel like I've earned it, give me a like and a subscribe. If you feel like I haven't, let me know what I can do better in the comments down below. And as always, until next time, get out there, make something awesome. Most importantly, have some fun, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.